Welcome to Black Gems Unearthed. My name is Jazz and I'm studying Black history of Massachusetts. Today I'm hanging out in the MetroWest area to bring you all around to Hopkinton, Ashland, and Westborough to learn about the existence of slavery in the 1700s out in what was a rural area. And also to learn about the connections of this area in the north to the south. This is going to be a hard history day, so you might want to get a comfort snack to listen and learn on this video. Right now I'm hanging out in Hopkinton, which is known as the home of the Boston Marathon, which starts right behind me. And this is also my hometown. Woo, woo. A little background on the history of Hopkinton. The first people to live here were the Algonquins, followed by the Reverend John Eliot that established a praying Indian settlement here, followed by Harvard University that purchased this land in 1715 using funds from Edward Hopkins, who was a politician in Connecticut, hence the name Hopkinton. So I talked to a Hopkinton librarian and historian, Linda Conley, who shared with me that Hopkinton was also home to at least 15 enslaved people in the mid-1700s. We know about this because in 1754, there was a slave census done in Massachusetts, where there were 119 towns that provided information on the number of enslaved people they had that were over the age of 16. In total, there was about 2,700, or a little bit above 2,700, throughout the towns of Massachusetts. While 15 may seem like a small number, it is significant because these Africans' lives, their freedom was taken from them. They were forced to this foreign land to work, and their labor was very valuable. The enslaved people, they were able to provide some freedom to their owners because they were able to lighten the workload on the farms out in the rural area and to lighten the workload of the households too. This gave their owners some free time that they were able to take up activities outside of the home. Here in Hopkinton, the first minister, Reverend Samuel Barrett, was a slaveholder. In 1741, he acquired two Africans named Cato and Jackie. We do not have details about Jackie and Cato's lives, but we can imagine that they spent time around here in the Hopkinton Commons because this is where the first church was, where Reverend Barrett preached. We can also imagine that Jackie and Cato spent time over here near Hopkinton's town offices because this is where the Reverend's home was located, in this general area. Reverend Barrett was not the only minister that was a slaveholder. I'm standing outside of the Parkman Memorial Chapel in Westborough. This chapel was dedicated to Ebenezer Parkman, who was Westborough's first permanent minister. He also was a slaveholder. In 1728, he purchased a boy from his father named Marrow that was from Africa, but he came via the Caribbean island Nevis. Parkman probably wanted the extra help out here in the rural area because he was a city boy and farming was quite the challenge. But unfortunately, Marrow died just 6 months after Parkman purchased him. We know about this from Parkman's journal. There were also Africans that worked out here on Frankland Street, which is in Ashland today. But back in the 1700s, this was still a part of Hopkinton. This street, I believe, is named after Charles Henry Frankland, who went by Sir Harry. He was a British baronet, a descendant of Oliver Cromwell, and a merchant trader. He moved to Boston in 1739, and he purchased out here in what was Hopkinton a 484-acre estate out in this rural area for him and his lady Agnes Surridge. He bought this estate because people in Boston and out in that area were giving him a lot of side-eye for his relationship with Agnes because she was much younger. She was around the age of 15 and not in the same economic status. He met her over in Marblehead when she was scrubbing floors, so clearly they were on different levels. The late Hopkinton historian Elias Nason, he did some research into Sir Harry and found that he likely had between 15 to 16 Africans that were enslaved. Some of the names that historians have been able to find through Elias's records include Hannah and Robert, who went with Sir Harry on a trip to Lisbon, Portugal. There was also a man named Bacchus. There was a woman named Dinah that was from Guinea, who had many mixed-race children, which causes me again to give a side eye to Sir Harry. But some of her children's names were Phoebe, Sydney, Robert, and Richard Potter. Richard Potter had a remarkable life. He was born in the 1780s, and he became the first American-born magician. Many people did not know his racial background. He was able to travel throughout the country, including the Deep South, doing magic tricks and hypnosis. And he really did live a remarkable life for a person of mixed race in the 1700s. Now, this house behind me, I talked with the Hopkinton historian and librarian Lynna Conley, and she said that it came up in Elias Nason's records that the Africans likely built the tiers that you see on the grass behind me. You can kind of see 3 layers. And they may also have done the work on the wall that's behind me too. So it's kind of fascinating to find out, or to even be able to see some of the work of those Africans. Over here in Ashland, off of the noisy Route 135, there is a burial ground, the Simpson-Jones burial ground, that predates the town and has people buried here primarily from Hopkinton and Frankland. Here lies the first white settler, Seville Simpson, along with his son-in-law, the Colonel John Jones. Evidently, John Jones was a slaveholder and had a couple of enslaved Africans. That rather recently there was a person from Ashland that worked to get their recognition, and there is actually a headstone for them inside of the cemetery. So let's go take a quick look. The cemetery is a bit of a work in progress. There's not too many headstones here, but I know that the people of Ashland are trying to work to get some funds to spruce them up a bit. Over here are the headstones for Mr. Jones, which is a bit tricky to read. And next to him is a headstone for the people that have been identified as Africans that were enslaved to him. So it's great that Ashland now has this. While we're discussing the existence of slavery out here, I also want to point out the connection that we have from the north to the south, to southern slavery. Oftentimes people that were from the north, they would attend universities to get educated, and then they would travel down to the south in order to find employment opportunities, often within the plantation system. One person from Westborough that did this was Eli Whitney. I'm right now standing on a street dedicated to Eli Whitney because he was born here in 1769, I believe. So Eli Whitney, he attends Yale University in Connecticut, and then he goes down south for a tutoring gig. But instead of tutoring, he ends up getting involved with a plantation in Georgia, where he notices that the southern planters are really struggling to get the seeds out of cotton by hand. And by the planters, I really mean the enslaved Africans that were doing work for them. So he comes up with an invention that revolutionizes how cotton is produced. He creates a machine that's able to pull the seeds out of the cotton so that it does not have to be done by hand. So this does save a lot of time on labor, but it actually increases the need for people to do the work of growing cotton and also picking cotton. In fact, some historians say that the cotton gin invention expanded the length of time that slavery existed by 70 years or so. So talk about an unintended consequence. It's great that he created this innovation, but the outcome was not good for Black people. And so just wanted to point out that someone from the north got their education up here and then went down south, because that is what happened quite frequently in the 1700s, perpetuating the system of slavery. I also want to mention that Westborough, the town seal, actually has an image of the cotton gin on it. And I question whether that should be there, as we are now talking in the country about symbols, and the cotton gin is kind of like a symbol of the oppression of black people, so it would be wise to reconsider having it there. But I'll get off my soapbox. I just wanted to share that. Thanks for listening to Black Gems Unearthed. I hope you were able to learn a bit about the existence of slavery that came all the way out to the rural area in present-day Metro West, and how we also were connected to slavery down south. Thanks for listening. I see you've stuck around again for my shenanigans. So I decided to go over to Framingham in order to support a black-owned business that is amazing. It's this chocolate company called Chocolate Therapy that has delicious chocolates. So many chocolates. I behaved myself and only purchased 4 of the truffles. It was a hard choice, but what I ended up getting from left to right, I believe, are the vitamin C, the passion fruit, horchata, and the peanut butter and jelly. These are going to be so good. I'm so excited. I highly recommend checking it out if you guys find yourself in Framingham. Thanks for watching. I'm really gone now. Bye.